Welcome back to the old city, Leviathan. Blood and bullet holes. That's darkly humorous. Caution, wet floor. Yes, wet with blood. And it's got the symbol of the greater eye. There's pretty much undoubtedly a bunch of bodies here that I just can't see. I hear birds chirping. But I see a dead rat. Welcome to Jerusalem. Is this the nearby unknowing camp that Solomon/Jonah mentioned? October 3rd. I guess we thought this would be some sort of haven. Light on a hill. We thought we could hide away from what the other dwellers were doing to each other. Although, we hated them just as much as they hated us. I guess we thought we were simply right, making us exempt from the conflict. It's all backwards, you know? I mean, I get it. The world fell, yeah. Everything went to shit. It's just that I think we assumed people would be largely the same after the old world left us. But just listen to me. I sound like a minotaur speaking in circles about how terrible we all are with not a friend in the world to comfort me. It's funny how I thought of them as antisocial, insufferable, and worst of all, arrogant. Now I feel as though I see the point in the isolation. I hate that it has to be this way. Who's this we? We thought. Okay, well this one is marked exit as well. That's not going to end the level, is it? Because there was a place over here that also said exit. I don't think so. No, okay. That's a new symbol. Is that the symbol of the unknowing? Locks?
All of our dreams at their core involve some sort of contentment. This is the one desire we all share, but is it a goal that really should be met? After finding contentment, what then? Where is there left to explore after the last temporary comforts of happiness have been extracted?
This water looks very clean. Unbending quest for truth, irrespective of artificial backgrounds or practical consequences. Something of God? I became insane with something intervals of horrible sanity? Surely these sacks don't actually say these things, right? What the hell? Does that say ignorance is the aura of God or something? The curse? Curse of God? It's hard to read. Weird. When I see the light, I think I want to come back here and see if the text changes. Alright, there's nothing more over here, right? Oh, no, no. No. More bodies here? More bodies that I can't see, maybe? It's a lot of blood.
Our island is plagued with the fruits of a collective mental landscape that defines us as desperately holding on to something correct. So there is no place to hide, without truly secluding, or perhaps risking, the inland. On some level, I feel as though I cannot blame the dwellers. Their zeal for truth is commendable. They're fighting for something, rather than keeping it to themselves. They're acting, instead of hiding. Still, must cruelty be the manifestation of certainty? If only truth did not need to be compatible with itself. If only we didn't need an anchor to be right. If only we could sail, instead of collecting dust on the memories of voyages past.
What happened to it? Massive gaping wounds. Poor thing. That's a shipping crate from Leviathan. Leviathan is the other faction, right? Wasn't it mentioned once that there's another faction? And I think most of the name of the faction was covered up, but I believe it started with like L and an E, so I'm pretty sure it is Leviathan, another faction. October 6th. Alright, it's time. I have made my decision. The guild will be here in 3 days' time, and my venture in isolation awaits. It's odd that I never required any sort of dubbing. I remember that the old Minotaurs, the ones who still remember the pre-fallen world, acquired the title after breaking from the council. It's all rather stupid. Modernity, they called themselves. Members of the guild order and the unknowing all gathered together to make decisions on who is what before the conflicts even began. All it took was one spark, a single disagreement between people entrenched in their own ideas, to initiate an infinite turmoil. The guild called it heresy, the order called it ignorance, and we unknowing sat around screaming about their need to be educated so as to stop the oppression. To think, the ideas weren't even their own. Their ideas came straight from the old city. Yes, I've seen how this works. These green pipes, these charitable structures, they are the root of our entrenchment. Well, no longer. I will find the source. I can see the water's a little bit red around its body. It's bloodied the water, I think. The floodgates. Tire company tires, that's all we do. Good for you. Yeah, just a bunch of old, mostly useless shipping containers. Just used as like dwellings and shelter. lesser eyes watching. Eyes of God upon us? Just eyes, no perspective. Page 248. Ah, but the narrative. If only they could have seen that we all see. Every last one of us. Dwellers, Minotaurs, Primids, all of us. We all see. Every last man, woman, and child on this island can truly see. It is simply that we all see a different narrative, a different truth. Oppression of the diversity of voice, yes. The diversity of truth is what makes truth a nonsensical enterprise fit only for those who would oppress. The rules are gone, yes, gone, 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 and there is nowhere now to return to but the truth of all truth. These voices of old are yet more narratives for the mixing pot of our time, the great soup of numerosity that is our species. We should welcome them. We should embrace their absolute correctness as a lack of correctness itself. What can be known? Nothing. Nothing. What can be understood? Nothing. Oppression is the monopoly of a narrative, where other narratives could lie, you fools. You absolutely insane mongrels. What the fuck? Wait, what is this? I hate... Something weird's going on here. I hate you all in your non-competitive narrative. I'm sorry, do forgive me, please, but only in my love for our collective narrative can I condone the rejection of your entirely problematic oppression. Idiots, 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 idiots. Truth must be compatible with itself, you say. No, truth must be allowed. I reject the singular nature of you. Wait a minute. I'm not actually reading a book, am I? I'm not reading a book. I'm reading my own character's thoughts of the book that he's reading. Is that what's happening here? This is me. This is me on the page, right? Me talking. Truth has to be compatible with itself? No. Idiots, idiots, idiots. Preposterous nuisances who would stifle my narrative. My narrative is a dream? Would you suggest that there is a reality that is not my own, not your own, and not of anyone to have ever thought? You fool. You pretentious, arrogant fool. There are no dreams. There's only a multiplicity of narratives that all show an equally diverse truth that aligns itself with the experience of those who would be willing to live, to imagine. I will kill you, oh you oppressors. I will not hesitate to cut the heads off of every last one of you stupid buffoons and drink the blood of your useless corpses. I stand for the right of the people, the right of all people to their own truth. Come forth, those who would destroy my narrative, and show your vile and disgusting nature. I am certain that you are wrong, you cretins, and I will not stop until you allow our voices, and all of their diversity, to be heard. The voice of one who is unknowing. I'm pretty sure this is my character's thoughts of what he's reading in this book. I think? Because no one would write this down. This is like a stream of consciousness thing. I hate you, I'm sorry, do forgive me. No one would write this. Strange. Yeah, I'd like to come back to that after after I see the light. And reality is revealed to me. What's in here? Symbol for the Minotaurs. I don't know if I want to go here yet. I don't know. Where is this leading me? I'm getting a little bit confused about the layout of this place. Whoa. Okay, there's a bunch of different ways to go. Let's first go back. Okay, so there's nothing here. Just looking from the other end of this place. Those pipes are impressively big. Almost oppressively big. Okay, so now there's two ways to go other than all the way back to the exit, and that's forwards in here to this staircase or to the left into the building. Or to the left into the pathway that leads to the building. So what's up here?
Is this dream truly manifesting? Could the voyage be useful beyond escape?
Oh, there's the subway access. So that's probably where I'm supposed to go then. But then what's the exit all the way back where I started from? Maybe the door was just locked? I'd like to climb up there and just get a view of this place. I wish I could. Pretty mushrooms. Probably incredibly poisonous, but pretty. Can't open it. I guess it's locked? "7th of October. After writing that last note, I was met by an old Minotaur who called himself Abraham. His sudden appearance startled me, but he seemed far more concerned with the fact that I was writing my thoughts down. I must admit, I don't really know why I'm doing so. He kept saying something about an ideal. He was almost manic. Isolated for years, I'm sure. Anyway, amidst all of the shouting and crazed laughing, I could make out several things that seemed to make sense. He spoke of the inland and how what all of the Minotaurs thought was enlightenment was actually a lack of what we once held dear. He said that our certainty need be destroyed, but that the old city still holds our belief. I was already fascinated, but then he told me a story. I will write it down. He said that there was once a beggar who lived in a hut. The man was so poor that he could not afford to repair his hut each of the numerous times a storm would damage it. Leaky and dank, his residence was simply a sad excuse for the minimum requirements of survival. One day, a golem, an impressive creature of stone and strength, came to his hut. The beggar, embarrassed by his abode, reluctantly decided to let it inside. The golem offered the beggar a new home in genuine charity. Struck by the sincerity of this creature, the beggar accepted the offer. The golem began to work. His method was altogether astonishing. Consistency abounded in the efficient construction of this new home. In fact, the golem began construction around the original hut. The beggar did not even have to move, as his new residence was created. And what a residence it was! To the surprise and delight of the beggar, the golem constructed a castle. Laced with beautiful tapestries and pristine marble, the structure's strongest quality was its security. After the work was finished and the golem had left, the beggar now sat atop his defenses with an overwhelming sense of certainty. No longer would the winds and rain threaten him. The beggar, now elevated to royalty, had no need to leave his new residence. All that he needed was within the castle's walls. He lived in this fortress until his death, happy and content. After telling me this, the Minotaur asked me if I would have accepted the golem's offer. Of course, I said yes. After all, a castle is far better than a hut. This much is obvious. But Abraham then said something that made me question myself. He said, if only he had not invited it in, promising a seductively safe life, it was welcomed. But around him, it only built a cage. Interesting. Seductively safe life. That seems related to what Solomon just said about how like once you found all there is to find, you know, once you've reached a certain level of comfort, what's the point? Like once you get there, now what? Now what are you striving for? What do you do? And that seems related to that. Had only built a cage of comfort and safety until the day of his death. A cage of what? Blissful ignorance? Okay, I think this might be where I'm supposed to go, so this might take me to the next level, so before that, let's go ahead and read Solomon's note. Take a look at how long it is, I'm curious. This one is also relatively short. The document. Note 10, 1st of May. Reader, I do not know what to do. My mind, held only by a strand, hangs from sanity over a great abyss of emptiness, and I do not know if I will be able to stop the fall. Everything is crumbling, and I do not know if my consciousness will be able to keep the world of the mirrors at bay for any longer. He brought the document. He brought the document, and it changed everything. It is all gone. All of it. All of it ruined, and all of it void. My whole world has been disintegrated. Reader, what should I do? I do not know what there is for me now that everything has been crushed and incinerated. He brought the document that revealed all truth, the only truth in the world. Jonah was right all along. How could he have been right? The bumbling idiot, the insane man, yet the only man capable of psychoanalyzing me properly. What have they done? I need to calm myself. I need to breathe. Everything is ruined, and the only thing left is to rot in the empty caverns of love long lost. Lost? No, missed. Love missed due to the stupidity of my pessimism, escaping me because I escaped her. And what is there to live for? By the greater I, what did I live for before? Why am I alive at all? I must stop this line of thought. He brought the document, and it said this. Dear Solomon, I'm not sure if you're going to receive this, but I hope it gets to you somehow. I miss you. Why did you leave? I don't understand. I know you went north, but I wish you would have told me why. It was never Abraham. I never loved him. I love you, Solomon. And I don't know if it's my fault or yours that we never were together. I feel like I made a lot of mistakes. I should have told you how I felt, but it's just so hard to know sometimes. I don't know if any of it was real, you know? Maybe us being together was just a dream. Anyway, Abraham is gone now, and I'm coming to find you. I'm just near the water treatment facility, and I know the sorts of places you love to make your home. Look for me in the area. I want to see you again. With love, Belle. After reading it in front of the investigator, my heart kicked like a baby in the womb, and for the first time in the last 20 years, something like happiness approached me. Contentment, even. The whole of the world flipped upside down into something wonderful, and 1,000 minor instances of fleeting interactions between me and the woman came to the forefront of my mind as the stupidity cleared and our connection was illuminated. The trouble I caused her. All for my pessimism, yes. I regained composure and looked to the investigator. Where did you find this? I asked. On her person. What? I found this document on her person. Now, can you explain your connection to this Belle? A dark reality, one that should never be mentioned or brought to light, began to creep into my mind like a worm eating my organs and defiling my thoughts. I answered, She's a friend. Where is she? She's dead. For a moment, a brief moment, my mind became static. Everything became static, in fact, and the whole of the world evaporated as my brain began a mad rush to dump it all before being harmed. Like suddenly catching fire while sailing the vasts, I dumped my cargo before it could burn the rest of my vessel down. Desperately trying to suppress emotions, I responded, What? How did she die? The same way you will if you refuse to cooperate. She was suspected of espionage, she's a known Order member, and she was caught rummaging around to the south of this facility. This note is obviously some sort of code, and if you don't reveal it, you will share her fate. Her remains have been taken to East Access. I froze. I couldn't speak. Everything stopped. My mind continued to dump the cargo, but it was falling behind the growing fires. I was going to burn. What the hell are you talking about? What did you do to her? I asked. She has been dealt with. You can either explain your connection to the woman, or you will be taken and interrogated further. In an instant of frustration, I lost my footing. I fell backwards against a wall and waited to regain my strength. The investigator appeared to have understood, in that moment, that I might not have been who he thought I was, as he walked over to help me. Unfortunately, my recovery was not complete, and in my blind anger, stupidity, and sadness, I tackled him to the ground. We rolled around on the wooden planks beside my bed and began to beat each other with bare fists. We rolled too far away from the area and fell to the basement beneath the planks. His back hit the ground with my weight on top of him, and I heard a crack. At first, I thought it was a plank of wood breaking beneath us, but a quick yelp from my foe revealed it was to be his spine. I rolled away and stood to observe my work. There he lay, writhing in agony. In a moment of panic, I almost put him out of his misery, but just before I could, some measure of calm returned, at least enough to prevent me from killing him. I did not want to spare him. No. In my anguish, I wanted to watch him suffer. I grabbed a beam of wood. I placed it under a limb, causing it to hang in the air at an angle. Then I crushed the lifted end with my foot, breaking the bone in half. I did this for each limb. Each time his shouting became softer as the crying set in. I whispered the name Belle over and over until it was the only word I knew. I whispered it until it drowned out his apologies, his disgusting attempts to justify himself in his filth. He was a rat, reader. A rat. He needed to be exterminated. I dragged his mangled body to the lower depths of the basement, and I managed to hoist him onto a table. He sat there, dying, crying, and apologizing while I left to acquire tools. I came back with a single hacksaw to discover that he was now lying lengthways across the table, as if ready for the slaughter. Yes, he wanted it with his horrendous howling and his now completely senseless requests for mercy. I took the hacksaw and I began to flay him. I worked it under his toenails and began bringing the rusty blade up to his crotch over the top of his leg. I could sense that his death was near, however, so I had to work quickly. I placed a towel in his mouth so that I could hear myself think amidst his absurdity, and I then gutted his abdomen. It was a clean slice, despite the quality of the blade, and I could hear all sorts of vile sounds coming from his putrid rat body. As his light faded, I made decorations with his intestines. I used his innards like an artist painting a masterpiece of blood and bile. I could see his eyes beginning to close at last from their frozen surprise as his wheezing and gurgling subsided. I became angry that he died so fast, and I began to shout with all of my strength, "Belle! Belle! Belle!" I cried. I took the saw and I sliced his limbs off and threw them around the room. I severed his head and I brought it upstairs to my living area. I then ran mad around the halls, painting all manner of things with his blood. I created art, reader. The death of a rat and the birth of art, yes. I took his head and I left out the back exit towards the beaches of Shoal. After running up to the water, I shouted as I threw the rat's head into the sea to be eaten by all of the creatures that swim in the depths of abyss. He's still there, his body, or at least most of it. He's still there in the basement. I can't go down there. Now that the frenzy has settled, I am both horrified by what I have done and terrified of what my mind will do without the thought of Belle. Why did I have to know that she is gone? Could I not have lived the rest of my pathetic life, assuming that she was still alive and well with Abraham in the South? Could I not have existed without this knowledge? There is nothing left. There is nothing left to comfort me or make my life worthwhile. Why was I ever born? What was the purpose of this? At the end of it, at the end of all things, here I sit, alone, with nothing but regret. 2nd of May. I will drink from the unclean water. I may not have the bravery required for suicide, but I have the courage to embrace void. I will adopt nothingness. I will make myself truly irrelevant at last. Perhaps, in the light of nothing, I will gain the courage to escape. Death's embrace is calling for me, as there is nothing and no one left in life worth living for. This is the end, reader. Even with you by my side, I have always been alone. Still, I must say, before insanity takes me home, that you have always been loyal. That is to say, if you are reading this, you have undoubtedly read the previous entries. If so, I am sorry that you were subjected to my mind. I am sorry that I ever lived. But I am glad that I shared it with you. Even if we will never meet. You and I have shared a grand nothingness. Goodbye, friend. Holy crap. That is really, really disturbing. Wow, that just kind of cemented a lot of things that I'd seen throughout the world and kind of tied them all together. At one point I wondered, was the body in East Access the one strung up? With like her abdomen cut open? I thought, was that Belle? And it was. And a pile of body parts just hanging on the beach. The arms and the pile of guts and all that crap. That was the body of that guy. I'm not even sure what to say. That's just, oh my god. That's really, really disturbing. I'm not even sure how to continue from that. Now I'm just crying. The only person who gave his life any meaning. He thought he was just hurting her. Just hurting her by being around her just because he's so socially inept or, you know, something like that. He thought he was hurting her just by being around her. I thought it'd be better if he just left. But in reality, they were the only thing that really... They were the only thing in each other's lives that actually gave each other any real meaning. That is indescribably sad. Hey. Hey, wait a minute.
I remember the exact moment. I remember the slight touch of ocean air passing over my skin as I stared aimlessly into the afternoon sky. It's interesting how, though generally more depressing, I actually preferred a cloudy sky to a clear one. Two vast expanses of blue separated do not have that quality of diversity that a more speckled display boasts. This is not to say that a cloudy sky is wholly unfortunate, because there were moments amidst the grey that I learned to dwell in. I learned to live in the moments where the heavens would tear through the sky as if digging through dirt, creating little bursts of pastel light in the otherwise desaturated gloom. It's as if clouds are nothing but a frame. I wonder if without them, happiness would turn into a flat portrait of stagnation.
I just realized something in this room. These things written in his childhood home. These things on the wall. I've seen them. This crab. I saw a gigantic crab-like creature. Remember? Whales. I saw a beached whale on the beach. Well, of course it's on the beach, that's a tautology. Bird. Ziz. It's a massive bird-like creature. I don't know about the tall thing, though. The massive tall thing that keeps moving around. If that's a squid, then that's a very odd-looking squid, but I think there might be a connection there. I just realized that. God, I just keep thinking about it. What I just read. It's so freaking disturbing. Again, he thought he was just a burden on her, but he wasn't. And then just as he finds that out, just as that letter's delivered and he finds that out, and he finally has something to live for, he goes from nothing to really live for to just utter joy. Oh my God. There's a reason right there. And then 5 seconds later he finds out that they killed her. It's so utterly crushing. To have this hope, this glimmer of light appear and then just be snuffed out. Yeah, I'm still not sure how to deal with that. That's one of the most disturbing things I've ever read in a game, actually. Okay, well, I'm going to be thinking about that for a while, but I think I should end this episode here before it becomes too long. So, I hope you have enjoyed so far, and I will be back soon.